I love you, Mommy.
Love you too.
Uh-oh, look who's here. You smoke? That's disgusting.
What is this? Are you doing drugs now?
You can't just come in here and accuse me like that.
No! No! She's not Augusta anymore. I don't know who she is.
She's doing drugs. She is flunking out of ninth grade.
Shut up! I hate you!
I wish you wouldn't cry, Mom. Please tell me I can come home. I'm ready now.
Welcome to episode 2 of Emo Cinema, the segment on my channel where I just yap about movies that I loved at 15 that I'm very convinced only I've seen. So this episode is about Augusta Gone, and fun fact about this movie, I first watched it in 2006 when it premiered, so I was actually 11. So we're kind of not following the rules for this episode, but I'm giving it an exception because when I tell you I was obsessed with this movie, there's a little piece of me that was rewatching this like 3 days ago and was like, yeah, I can see how I turned out because this movie really was like, woo, this movie was a lot, but there are parts of this movie that really remind me of myself. And to that I say, if this was your favorite movie at 11 years old, good luck, Charlie. You got a big storm coming. I literally bought a DVD pack 2 years ago for $40 that had this movie because I wanted to watch it, but it wasn't streaming anyway. Augusta Gone is a Lifetime movie that premiered on May 1st, 2006. It's based on a book of the same name that is currently sitting on my bookshelf. I think I am like halfway done with it. The movie stars Mika Boorem, best known for Sleepover, and Blue Crush. She's the little sister in Blue Crush. It also stars Shannon Lawrence and Tim Matheson as her parents. Honorable casting mention to Tamara Hope, because she was in the Disney Channel original movie Stepsister from Planet Weird. She played the stepsister Ariel Cola. But in this, she is Rain, aka Augusta's bad influence of a friend, aka the knockoff Evie Zamora if we want to go there. The plot of this movie is that Augusta is a troubled teenager who basically hates everyone and listens to a lot of Avril Lavigne. That's so me. Her parents divorce and she's a mess. So her parents eventually decide to send her to a wilderness treatment center, like one of those that Paris Hilton would later come out and be like, yeah, they kidnapped me and took me to one of these. So at this center wilderness place, she meets a girl named Bridget who literally dies in front of her. So after this trauma, she decides life is actually worth living and she's gonna stop being how she was. She runs away and calls her mom. She promises not to be fucked up anymore, and the movie ends on a happy note. The movie literally ends with a close-up shot of the real Augusta and her mom, and then it just gives us like, this is what happened to them after, and I'm like, okay, cool. But so when I was rewatching like 3 days ago, I noticed something that I had never noticed before. So basically, when Augusta's on the bus going back home to reunite with her family, she sees a girl who's like sitting in front of her and she starts talking, like you can't hear it, there's music playing over it, but she's talking to this girl and the girl shows off her engagement ring and she's like, it looks like she's saying like, oh cool. The girl she's talking to, it's the real Augusta. My mouth literally dropped open because I was like, what the hell? Because one, I forgot that scene even existed. Two, I forgot that they're essentially the only two people on this bus, which when I was rewatching, I was like, that's weird. Why is it the only the two of them? But then at the end, when they show the real Augusta, you're like, oh, that's her. That's the girl. Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be like a cute moment. And it was. She was like showing off her engagement ring. I was like, hell yeah, girl. I sobbed during the scene where she calls her mom to come and get her, and then they just start playing Slipped Away by Avril while she's reuniting with her family. Now, the Avril stan in me wants to point out that I think a better song for the scene where they're reuniting would have been Who Knows by Avril, because that one has more of like a happier, more positive outlook of like, who knows what could happen tomorrow, like, it's a brand new day, stuff like that. Slipped Away is depressing as hell. But I guess, I mean, it kind of works in the context of, like, she slipped away and now she's back. I saw some reviews that said things happened way too fast and you can't really pinpoint what set Augusta down the path that she went on. Was it her parents splitting up, or was she just desperate to be friends with Rain? So I guess it's just open to interpretation. To me, though, Augusta just gave depressed girly. Like, her hormones were all over the place. And she either needed a journal or she needed to be put on meds. That's another thing I noticed in the rewatch. The first thing they ever decide to do is we're just gonna send her to the wilderness nature thing. They don't say, hey, maybe we should try medication. Maybe we should try. Well, they tried therapy. It didn't work. She was pissed. So I don't know, but that's just something I noticed in my rewatch. I was like, they jumped for the wilderness nature treatment place. And then it was also fucked up that they took her on Mother's Day. That was crazy. And again, this is based on a true story, so obviously it happened like that, but I'm like, that's wild. I forgot that there's a scene where it's Augusta and her parents, and they're like, are you just smoking pot? Like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm a virgin, but I've fooled around with guys. And then she's like listing everything else she's done, and then she's like, and I'm on meth. Like, the way she just casually drops it, she's on meth, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. So during my rewatch, I cried 6 times. Because the first time I was obsessed with this movie, it was probably the Avril Lavigne of it all. Like, I felt like Augusta. And then during my rewatch, I was like, wow, I really want to go hug my mom. And apologize. I was not as bad as Augusta here, but ooh! I can see how people think this is a low-budget version of 13 with Evan Rachel Wood and Nikki Reed, but honestly, I disagree. Because it's a true story, it's based on her mom's experience trying to figure out why Augusta ended up like this. 13 is more just about, like, how bad friendships can influence you. And it doesn't really focus on the family aspect as much. It kind of does, sort of. It's been a while since I watched 13. But from what I remember, it doesn't really go there. Because Tracy's always just pushing away her mom, and she never really, like, opens up, and she's just always with Evie and, like, attached to Evie Zamora, and it's like, girl, she's not good for you. I will say, there were some scenes in this movie that did remind me of 13. Specifically when Rain and Augusta are smoking in her room listening to a song that sounds suspiciously like Sum 41, but I don't think it is. That reminded me of the scene where Tracy and Evie are in Tracy's room and they're getting high and they're like, punch me, I can't feel anything. Another scene that reminded me of 13 was when Augusta and Bridget run away from Circle Mountain and they're basically homeless. Yeah, it reminded me of that scene where Tracy and Evie, towards the end, they go shopping, but they're both high on drugs and you see it from Tracy's point of view and like the room is spinning. That scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it. And I was 17. I shouldn't have been scared, but I don't do drugs because of 13. Side note, I'm kind of not proud to admit this, but the scene where Augusta takes the scissors and cuts her hair was definitely something I wanted to recreate at 15. I mentioned something similar in my upcoming video about Odd Girl Out, but yeah. What was with Lifetime and cutting our hair in a fit of rage? That's crazy that it happened twice. Anyway, I loved the soundtrack because this soundtrack is essentially just Avril. I'm gonna see if I can find some screenshots, but there are 3 Avril posters in Augusta's room. One is framed next to her door. I love that she framed it because that's so real. One is on her closet, and one you can kind of see when she's yelling at Martha. It's black and red, which means that it's from the Under My Skin era, which checks out because that album came out 2 years before this movie, but yeah, you can barely see it. I had to rewind and be like, wait, is that? Yeah, that's Avril. So I counted 3 Avril posters. R.I.P. Augusta, you would have loved Young and Dumb by Avril Lavigne. Things that didn't age well in this movie. Those wilderness treatment center places. The scene where that random lady at the treatment center tells Augusta the list of rules. No black nail polish, no rock music, no candy? Like, what the hell? So yeah, tell me in the comments, did you watch this movie? Have you rewatched? I cried multiple times during my rewatch. 7 out of 10 is my final score. It's currently streaming on Tubi.